Gone. How you doing?
Happy New
Ha-
Year.
Happy New Year. So, how was your New Year's? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, it must be a flaw with my here. I'll have to take you off.
Okay. Say
Is that better?
something? Yeah, I think
Pardon?
so. Yeah, I can hear you now.
I think there's a problem.
Okay.
Okay.
So, how was your New Year's?
Mine was very quiet. How about yours?
It
I
was
was home.
I
I
did
was
a
home.
fancy meal.
I
Sorry?
did nothing exciting. I did nothing exciting. I started reading my book, got tired, and I actually fell asleep before New Year's.
Okay. Oh, really? John
Yeah,
Tory self-admitted he didn't even do
my
that.
phone was ringing. All my kids were calling me, but I was already dead to the world.
Okay. I had a fancy meal kit from Michael's Back Door.
Oh, very nice. Very,
That,
very. I
yeah.
have had this week, as you know, I was staycation. I was at home and had the opportunity to order in a couple times. I did that. I cooked, baked,
Yeah.
done a lot of hikes, a
I
lot of
saw that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I tried to post some of it. So yeah, it was very relaxing, but quiet, very quiet.
Cool. So this is the longest I've went without talking to you, so I have a bunch of questions.
Okay, shoot, ready,
All
go.
right. So long-term care residents and frontline workers in Peel are going to get vaccinated by January 21st, according to Doug Ford's presser today. So January 23rd is the day the lockdown might be over. So with January 21st being this date, do you think the lockdown will be over January 23rd?
It's not even our case numbers. It's the situation in the hospitals, right?
Okay.
So our case numbers have been stable, plateaued, let's call it plateaued, for about 6 weeks now. They're still very high. We're still over 150 cases per 100,000. Some days, yesterday we had over 200 cases, averaging about 160, 180. We're bouncing around there. Brampton is still bouncing 200 plus. 300 today, I think. I mean, it's still not good, but that's not the situation that worries me. Let's talk about the hospitals and long-term care homes. So we have 16 long-term care homes, 14 retirement homes, and 6 group homes in yellow. That means a staff outbreak, and 6 of those homes are in red, which means outbreak among residents. So that is not a good situation among congregate living settings. But then the hospitals, oh, so we have over 200 rooms being used for COVID patients. Do you remember before it was over 100, then it was
Yeah.
120, then it was 150, now it's over 200 rooms. So I have 133 patients, COVID patients. We have 33 ICU, and the other 70 are pending a test result, but probably COVID positive.
Well,
So
okay.
that's what's happened. And more importantly is that they're at 75% surgical capacity, meaning they are canceling surgeries, all those kinds of surgeries that you and our friends and family need because of COVID. They just can't. I have a list of them somewhere. Keep talking. He's asking me questions. I'll get it to you. And we'll just
So
roll out
I
to.
was going to say, so I mean, from what you're telling me, it doesn't look like January 23rd is going to be the day that lockdown is going to be lifted. Is that correct?
You know, I'm
And
still,
I
I'm still hopeful. I'm still hopeful. I mean, I didn't think we would go into the second long-term lockdown. I thought they were going to lift it for us on January 21st. But, the way more and more I looked at it, it didn't seem very realistic. Um, if things stabilize, but then what do you do when you have 75% capacity and elective surgeries are canceled and patients are being rerouted? They've transported 100 patients to other nearby hospitals, which probably means Burlington or north of the city. Um,
true. Okay.
so that's the issue. That is the issue. Like the case numbers themselves have started to flatten, but they're not the only indices we look at, right? The case numbers. And oh, I know what I was going to say. So we know that Christmas shopping, there was a bump, notwithstanding people were out in the big box stores because God knows they weren't in the small retailers. Then there were the Christmas dinners, and we're starting to see the evidence of that now that it's, what, the 5th today, right? And then I'd say mid-January, starting in about 5 days, we're going to see the results of the New Year's Eve parties and gatherings. And we see the spike. I mean, notwithstanding, you know, people trying to do the right thing, others don't, and the virus is spread. It is in private settings like dinner parties, and we know people were getting together, and we understand a little bit of that is going to happen, and certainly we track it. We know, and that's one of the reasons why the deadline for lifting the potential lockdown was going to be after the 2-week period after New Year's, because we knew that was going to happen, right? So let's not say no, but let's be hopeful, but it's not looking good. Let's say certainly got a bump after Christmas shopping, and we're starting to see increased numbers as a result of Christmas. So, you know, we're not blaming Thanksgiving or Halloween or Diwali anymore. Now we're blaming gatherings at the Christmas holiday season and New Year's.
Toronto came out yesterday, and they're pretty much kind of naming and shaming, kind of outing businesses that have, you know, kind of, I believe two more people with COVID-19 is considered an outbreak at a business. Now, is Peel and Mississauga going to follow suit in regards to outing these businesses?
So as you know, on Monday nights and Thursday nights, we have our call with our health partners, including with Dr. Lowe. He leads them, our hospital partners, Region of Peel, certainly the 3 mayors. And I sent Dr. Lowe a list of 30 questions yesterday because I hadn't spoken to him in 2 weeks. We hadn't had a call in 2 weeks. And that was the #1 question. And he feels that Toronto is more aligning with Peel with respect to our reporting. We do report by category and by sector. We will name a company if there's a public health risk. And we have in the past when there is a public health risk, but we often don't, and it was his policy not to, because not only does it stigmatize them, but also we don't get their cooperation for the contact tracing, and that above all is the reason we need their cooperation, so we can shut them down, get them cleaned, and have everyone go home, stay home, and do the contact tracing that's necessary, so anyone they may have been in contact with also remains in quarantine. So that's been our policy, and I asked if we were going to use more disclosure. It sounded like Eileen was going to use, and John Tory, more disclosure. Anytime there was an outbreak of 2 or more, they would publish the name of the company. But I believe that is not the intent, only when it presents a public health risk.
Now with saying, in regards to the public health risk, it's all based on contact tracing. And now that contact tracing is impossible based on the numbers in Peel, doesn't it make sense to out these companies just because, let's just say if somebody had a friend that they hung out with, well, they shouldn't be hanging out with anybody, but I mean, like, if they saw them or whatever, and they know that this company had an outbreak, they can call in, right?
We are still contact tracing, particularly where we can, the most serious cases. So their primary contacts are contact traced, and then the kind of secondary, we leave that to the individual to get in touch with those people. And hopefully everyone has the app. I have the app, and it hasn't gone off on me, but it went off on my daughter's friend, and she immediately ran out and got herself tested and came back negative. But so hopefully everyone has the app as well. It's certainly worthwhile to do. So we do continue to contact trace, maybe not to the degree we used to, but certainly we do to their main contacts, and then we leave them to contact everyone else.
Okay. And I got to ask this because it's all over the media. So I know you haven't traveled, but have any of your counselors gone out of country, out of vacation?
So certainly that question was asked by the Mississauga News yesterday. An email came in to me and to all the council, and of course I reached out to all my councillors and I said, just let me know so we can all be prepared in case somebody. Yeah. But to a T, no one had. no one had gone anywhere, and most, like myself, have not been anywhere out of province or even on an airplane in more than 10 months. So no, we are Mississaugans. We're your council members here in Mississauga. We're safely in Mississauga and doing what we should do. Take some time off, but doing it at home quietly, and be with our people, with our community. And I think that's what leadership is. I want to be here with my people. We're asking people to make huge sacrifices, not see their mothers at Christmas time. We're closing down businesses. We're preventing them from seeing their families in long-term care facilities. Notwithstanding, this is the usual time we would take holidays because City Hall's closed between Christmas and New Year's and a little bit beyond, until tomorrow, in fact. That is the time we normally take holiday. We all chose to take it at home staycations.
Sure. Now, as a mayor, do you tell them not to, or do you just kind of say, by the way, I prefer you guys not go?
Right. No, we don't have those discussions because they're only accountable to their own electors, their own residents, not to me. I'm accountable to everyone, but I'm not the boss in that way. I'm the spokesperson, the ambassador for the city, but they all know that, I've got a great team and they know what's right. They know what's right. Many of them have been around for many years and they all do the right thing for the right reasons. And they knew instinctively, they didn't have to be told that this isn't the right time to take a holiday when we're asking other people to make sacrifices.
Okay. A couple of days ago, unfortunately, Peel had 730 cases, the most Peel's ever had. Is Peel Public Health going to put more restrictions down over the next week or two?
So Dr. Lowe had made some recommendations to the provincial table of public officers of health. And they talked about more closures, more non-essential businesses. I don't even want to speculate because I don't think they're going to go forward. Anyways, there were some suggestions made, none of which were adopted, and that's why I'm reluctant to even suggest them. None of them were adopted, none of them were. So I think at this point, no. I think we'll see by the 25th of January, we'll know probably the week before that where we're at and whether the provincial lockdown will continue or if there will be a small lifting. I'm very hopeful that should the situation in our hospitals and our long-term care settings, notwithstanding our case numbers, stabilizes, because it's unstable now, maybe we could start opening small businesses with capacity limits, much like now we have those big box stores open and grocery stores with capacity limits, right? I think that's the right thing to do, to open up everyone safely with capacity limits. That's what I'm going to advocate for at the right time. But I have to say, I have to get that cue from Michelle DeManuel, who's the CEO of Trillium Health Partners, and have a lot of respect for her. And she does have the ear of the Premier, so he knows what the situation and how acute it is, how dire it is in our hospital settings. And I would venture to say that in Peel, it's worse than anywhere else. When you see all the factors combined, whether it's public health issues, the situation in the hospitals, and certainly the case numbers. It's probably worse here than elsewhere. So I will take my cue from her when she says they're stable enough that things can start to reopen. We'll advocate for it. But if you get sick, or God forbid someone in your family, and they have to be taken to, I don't know, Orangeville for care, is that what you want? Because they can't get it here in at Trillium or at Credit Valley Hospital or the Mississauga Hospital.
In regards to, so one thing that we get a lot of is we get pictures of people, they send it to Mississauga and they're like, look at Costco, look at how packed it is, look at Walmart. And the questions that's asked a lot is, are these big box stores getting ticketed for this? Are they getting fined for having more people than they should in the Costco's, the Walmart?
Let me tell you what's been ticketed. And so the best thing for them to do is, rather than send you the picture, for them to call 311 immediately and dispatch bylaw. That's the thing to do. Like, we're over capacity. I'm in a 100-person lineup outside Costco. It's a madhouse inside. That's the kind of, well, we shouldn't name, at big box store named XYZ. we don't want to shame anyone because they very well, hopefully, are abiding by all the rules in that particular chain. So this past week, 20 charges laid, cumulative 671. Monday, an indoor basket facility. Tuesday, a gym. Wednesday, a flower shop and a nail salon. Thursday, restaurant, 4 people consuming alcohol. A billiard parlor gathered to play table games and drink alcohol. That was a serious one. That was a Part 3 summons. Those are the big ones, the Part 3s. 9 individual tickets and PPE littering. Restaurant, 40 people. Indoors awaiting, okay, here they got into trouble. They brought everybody inside to wait for their takeout. People felt that they weren't safely physically distanced. So there was a ticket there. Salon, non-essential business Sunday, private residential gathering, 5 to 10 people, multiple complaints. So we talked about this. Are we going to be ticketing your Christmas dinner, your Thanksgiving dinner? And I said, you know, when it's egregious and there are dozens of cars outside, or if you're in a building and there is plenty of noise, bylaws dispatched, likely on a noise complaint or a public parking complaint, will they knock on your door? There are not going to be spot checks in that way. So,
let me.
They usually tell me if they do any education of those types of businesses. So all I can say is they do proactive inspections, yes. And as we know, the uptake is about 99.7%. So it's very, very good. And if people do have those pictures, I don't know how new or old they are, because of course they're supposed to be operating at 25% capacity, right? Is there 50%? I've forgotten.
Yeah.
A reduced capacity in any case. So if they see those situations continuing today, instead of sending you the photo or me, because I get them too, usually on Facebook Messenger, just call 311, folks. Say, I'm here right now. It's a mess. Send someone right away. Yes, we will. They will come out. They not only do proactive inspections, but of course, very reactive to any calls we receive.
Do you have any numbers in regards to how many box stores you've actually ticketed?
This is total, so they don't break it out that way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they apparently have not ticketed them in this week.
Okay.
Proactive inspections will resume. Oh, okay. Let's also remember that it was a holiday, but they were working. Resume this week. Proactive inspections will resume this week and focus on new indoor capacity limits for essential businesses. So
we'll touch base on that next week.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like some people did try to gather at Celebration Square for New Year's Eve. There were about 250 people, and they were told to disperse. There'll be nothing on tonight, folks. Sorry.
So they did that in Toronto too, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So if the lockdown persists, let's just say, unfortunately, lockdown it goes for a few more months. Will this affect projects in Mississauga, like the LRT, Brightwater, Lakeview Village, the Central Library renovation? Will that be affected because of the lockdown?
So far, none of the construction projects are being affected. Construction is one of those essential businesses that is proceeding, but I would dare to say that if numbers continued to pose a problem, they would be looking at more essential businesses that they would require to shut down temporarily. And construction may be an area that they may look at. I don't know, I'm speculating. But if things got to improve, folks, they have to improve. Not only do we see it in the numbers, but it's the hospitals we worry about and the congregate settings, particularly the long-term care homes.
Any progress on the sick pay from the province?
Yes, well, only that they deflected it to the federal government and we're still waiting. I did have an update on that yesterday. It's nothing definitive yet, but the funding for the second isolation center is available now, and that will likely open very soon too. And, we also had the discussion about rapid testing. Do we want it at the airport on arrival? And what the federal government opted to do, I think you saw that interview I did with Joe Warmington rather, at the airport about rapid testing. Wouldn't it be great if it were available when you land and you got a negative test and then did another one 5, 6, 7 days later? And if you got a second negative test, you could knock off a week of your quarantine. Wouldn't that be great? But what the federal government decided to do instead, of course, was require you starting, I think, on the 11th or 17th, I've forgotten, to show proof of a negative test before boarding. So they put the onus on the person
Yeah.
at departure rather than the onus of the airport on arrival.
Yeah. Good luck getting a test in Cuba.
Right, yeah. And then the government, I guess the federal government today closed that loophole that you cannot receive your CERB payment should you have been out on travel, on non-essential travel, right? Non-essential travel.
Let's get to the viewer questions.
Sure.
Okay. The Instagram viewer questions. Do you think schools will reopen at the end of January?
By the end of January, that question came up with Dr. Lowe yesterday as well, and he was going to recommend that schools stay closed a little longer.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. Did you say why? Like, just...
Safety. It's just
Okay.
safety. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next question. Oh, here's a fun one. Here's a positive one.
All right.
What does the city have planned to celebrate Hazel's 100th birthday next month?
That's such a great question. I was so proud of her. Last week it was announced that she received the Order of Ontario, and I guess I had thought that she had already received it. I knew she had received the Order of Canada, which was wonderful, and then when it was announced in the newspaper along with Ernie Eves and former Premier Ernie Eves and Mike Harris and Bob Runciman, I saw Hazel's name, and of course our Carlo Fidani too, who of course named our cancer center. So some really wonderful people were announced last week, Hazel being, for me, Premier. I gave her a call and said, Hazel, I didn't realize you didn't have an Order of Ontario, long overdue, congratulated her. So that comes on the heels of the naming of the library. Also last week I spent some time emceeing the video. Ron Duquette, I think you know Ron, and the Mississauga Arts Council are planning a big, long tribute to Hazel. A very long, I think it is about an hour, maybe even an hour and a half tribute. It was just, performances from her special performers and speeches, and there'll be all kinds of history with Hazel's life, and it just fantastic. And I know I emceed most of it. And so we'll have the video, and we'll have the naming of the Central Library, and of course there won't be a party because we can't all gather. So, perhaps we'll put that off or celebrate her 101st in a party. I don't know, but there are certainly a lot of things being done. The fundraiser for the hospital, her wish book, right? The photograph book, photos with Hazel, and they've sold quite a number of sponsorships to the book. So
nice.
That's a good cause, right? It's nice when you put your celebration to a good cause for the community, and Hazel's loaned her name to our Trillium Health Partners to help raise money for the hospital. So that's wonderful. So the library naming, Central Library renaming, the Order of Ontario, the movie that will come out. So there's quite a bit going on. Much of it is virtual, granted. Unfortunately, but it's we can't come together and celebrate, so we do the best we can with what we have.
These questions are fairly positive. What are your plans for Mississauga in 2021? What's one big plan that you want to achieve in 21?
Economic recovery is what I'm going to focus on. We could spend hours and hours on this question. In fact, I usually do a speech to the Board of Trade on, here's looking back at last year, but this is what we're going to accomplish. But, I think my focus will be on economic recovery and make sure every sector has the financial support they need so that they can rebuild and recover and, open and operate and thrive once again. I live down in the south of the city now and often walk through Port Credit, and, it just breaks my heart to see the for lease signs in the windows. So I want to ensure that our economy recovers, and we're an economic engine here. So there's no question in my mind we will recover. It does hurt me that there are many sectors that are thriving, that are making record profits, whereas our small businesses have been forced to shutter and our restaurants have been forced to shutter. And I only hope that they're receiving the supports they need, and I hear about it when they don't. And of course, that's my opportunity to advocate for them. But certainly the rebuilding and the recovery of our economy here in Mississauga is what I'll focus on first.
And let's end with your New Year's resolution, your 21 resolution.
So I have started working out, as you know, and I think we've all gained a little bit of weight during COVID, so lose a little bit of that and continue with the workout regime. I've actually found more time for myself to read, and I just finished a 600-page book written by Barbara Emile, you know, wife of Conrad Black, on their version of what happened. Very fascinating book, and I've got a whole stack of them. I've given out A Promised Land, the Obama book, to all my kids, and so I have a copy, so that's my next read. I just closed the Barbara book, Friends and Enemies, so I'm very happy about that. And you know, that was really great to find time to read something other than briefing binders, quite frankly, or city reports or council binders, right? So I do a lot of that. Often I take a dozen home for a week, and I'm just inundated reading what's necessary rather than what's pleasurable. So find more time to read, find more time to work out, and you know, keep in control of my health and my mental health. Take more time to walk outside. I've been doing a lot of that, and that's just great for mental health as well. A little more focused on self, because you know it is easy to slip and get a little down or get a little into a funk or a bit of a blue or a depression. You can tell people are isolated, they're at home. I know I have been, and it's easy to do. So it's very important that you get outside, get some exercise, get some physical activity, do something for yourself that you enjoy. And for me, it was a bit of baking, a bit of cooking, and some reading.
Nice. So you've motivated me to turn off the Netflix and turn off the Prime and stop watching Cobra Kai and pick up a book.
I've got, I think, 6 episodes of Scandal to have finished watching the entire 7 seasons, and then that's it. Yeah, that's it for me and Netflix. Our love affair has ended. We're done. We're breaking up. Read more, less Netflix, more reading.
Mayor Crombie, thank you very much for entering 21 on the 5th day with me, and yeah, we'll do another interview. I guess we'll do it every week in 21.
Of course.
It doesn't have to be every week. You can tell me. We can skip weeks and stuff, but
yeah, we'll see what happens. No problem. Maybe.
All right.
I hope one day this year we can take a holiday.
Well, yes, 100%. And I think the reason why we talk every week is because of the pandemic, right? To inform people. You know, 90% of our questions are.
It's nice to touch base with you, to give updates, and also to hear the viewers' questions. You know, I have really, actually, COVID has allowed me to do weekly press conferences, and we hadn't done those before. And now I wonder why we hadn't done them before. It's hard enough to get media attention here, so why not take the opportunity once a week to recap what we're doing in Mississauga for the benefit of the GTHA? So I think that's been fantastic, and I hope to continue doing those as well.
Perfect. Well, I have you every Tuesday. See you later. Bye.